in TechEd Berlin 2010 with John Craddock. He's a guy behind XT seminars, and we're going to talk about cloud computing a little bit. It's about how to connect or how to authenticate to an application that runs in the cloud, right?
No, that's one of the issues, yes.
One of the issues.
One of the issues. One of many, perhaps.
Well, introduce them to me then. What are the issues?
Okay, I mean, the first issue really is about, I mean, if you're going to put an application in the cloud, how are you going to host it in the cloud? You're going to host it with a provider of some kind. So if we're using platform as a service, you will be hosting it on their platform. The question is, do you trust their platform? You're going to virtualize the data storage is going to be abstracted. Do you trust the way they handle your data storage and so on? So in terms of moving to the cloud, there's a big element of trust. But then if you accept that you do trust your cloud provider, the next question is, how do you authenticate your users to your service? And that's where the big issue comes in. Because, I mean, imagine you were running an application on-premise and it was a Windows application, you'd authenticate against that server, single sign-on with AD authentication. Now we move that application to the cloud.
So there starts the trouble.
And there's the trouble, because to have that application sitting in the cloud is then how do you authenticate back against your AD for your users. And I don't think you'd want to open, well, number one, you probably wouldn't want to put your AD in the cloud, although some people do. Yeah. So the question is, how do we do it? And that's where we come in and use federation.
Yeah, and I can imagine two scenarios there. For example, it's where you're in your own corporate LAN and you want to authenticate to an application that's in the cloud. You want to connect to an application that's in the cloud, or there's an application that's in the cloud and you connect through the internet to the application, which has to connect back into your own corporate data center, right?
Yeah, I mean,
if you have your SQL database, for example, in your own in-house, and you have your web application in the cloud, for example.
There's lots of potential ways of running it. So you may use a cloud provider, and you've actually got an internet connection to that cloud provider, where you can access the front end of your servers, and then you may have a corporate connection, a WAN connection, which is private to you, back to your corporate network.
That would be the easiest way, I think, right? Because then nobody can interfere with that traffic.
It's yes. I mean,
but it's the most expensive way too.
Yeah, and actually there is so many different ways of cutting your cloud architecture, and I think the key is that everyone's learning at this stage how to do it. So I mean, I think we certainly need to look at the cloud in terms of how we can benefit from the cloud. But we have to also remember cloud is totally in its infancy. So the cloud providers are learning, and we're learning as to how to use it.
So you're saying that cloud computing is not where it should be at this moment?
Oh, I don't know.
Are we there yet?
Where can we say cloud computing should be? I think we've all got a lot to learn, and cloud computing is going to get a lot better than it is now.
I'm a BPOS user, for example, and I got a good feeling with that. So I think that BPOS or Office 365, for example, is a good example of how cloud computing should be. But that's software as a service. If you have platforms as a service, I get a little bit confused.
Yes, but even software as a service, we still need to authenticate against that. Now, I mean, there's sort of two offerings from Microsoft: there's standard and there's dedicated. Now, if you're using dedicated service, you have a WAN connection back to your corporate network, and what Microsoft wants you to do is co-locate one of your domain controllers in their data center. So there's an additional element of trust there to do that. Now, when you do that, they will actually synchronize with your Active Directory for authentication. If you go for standard, what they'll do is they will actually they will synchronize your on-premise AD into the cloud. That's one option. Another option is actually not to synchronize with your on-premise AD at all, and just to provide user identity in the cloud. So, and that's for coming in over the internet connection.
So let's do the first scenario. Let's say, okay, you synchronize your own AD into the cloud. Would you trust that? Would you do that yourself?
Would I do it? Well, I mean, I don't, because we're talking BPOS here, and
let's talk.
For some organisations, yes, they are putting their AD into the cloud. Now, question is, You know, if you're going, and I don't actually want to mention any service providers because I don't want to sort of say security is one, it's better than the other, but if you put your AD into the cloud, then I think there's a certain element of risk there. Now, you could say that you put not your complete AD, but you put an edge AD into the cloud, and you manage your identity from that. But a much better solution is to use federation services. And for federated identity, and Microsoft's offering on that at the moment is Active Directory Federation Services, or ADFS. Now, the key there is what we're doing is we're generating a security token. So we look after the identity of our users. A security token is generated, which can then be trusted by the application. And that application could actually be residing on-premise, it could be residing in one cloud or another cloud. And the good thing about the federated identity is that it's using standard protocols and definitions. So it uses SAML protocol, it uses WS Federation, and we're using a SAML token. And on the SAML token, we have not only the identity of the user, but we can have other claims relating to them. So we could have the fact they're a member of a particular group, but we might also have information that they're a full-time employee. We could put their employee ID on there. We could put anything we like on that security token, which makes it much more flexible.
And secure over the internet.
And because we're pushing it through HTTPS protocols everywhere, and we have the security we need, yeah.
Okay, I would like to see more of that. So soon we will go to this whiteboard. You can explain me all about that.
Okay,
right?
yeah.
Just one question before we go there.
Mm-hmm.
If everything is moving to the cloud, the IT pro, will become, well, useless, or not?
I think. Okay, so let's step back a bit. Everything is moving in the cloud. There is definitely a future in the cloud. There's no question about that. The point is, right at this point in time, we're all learning, right? Yep. So now's the time for innovation in the cloud. So one of the things you can look at is which parts of your organization make sense to go in the cloud, because the cloud is about having a more agile IT infrastructure. It's about the ability to, if you purchase another organization, it's to integrate them in. Cloud services can help you with that. It can also help you get a product to market. So there's lots of innovative areas around the cloud. And I think now is the time for any IT pros to be looking at how can they help with that innovation. And I think if you get in now at the start, then you're in a very, very good position. Given a few years down the road, and if everything moves to the cloud, yes, it will change. We'll have to look at, maybe you have to go to the beach.
That would be very nice too. So if you had to choose between putting effort in cloud computing or putting effort in moving to IPv6, what would you choose? Because I hear there are two major buses. It's cloud computing and IPv6. A lot of people say you need to know about IPv6. If you don't know about IPv6, you're useless. And the other people say, okay, you need to know about cloud computing. If you don't know about cloud computing, you're useless. So, if I had to choose between those, what do you think would be more interesting?
Are you going to have to choose? Can you not do both?
That's important, do both?
I think we definitely need to look at what the cloud has to offer. Yeah. And make decisions around the cloud. I think there's no question about that. And I think some organizations say, oh, no, the cloud, it's insecure, we're not going to go that. And I think that's too global. We need to look at where the cloud might work for our organization. And when it comes to an organization's data, some things can go in the cloud. So you may push some stuff that you currently hold on the intranet into the cloud. And for instance, on SharePoint, and you may keep some of it on-premise. In terms of your mailboxes, you may keep the majority of your mailboxes in the cloud, but the really critical ones, the mailboxes for the CEO, the HR department, the contracts department, you keep on-premise. So it's a mixture.
Yeah.
And then if you want to, there's always been a sort of IPv6 is coming, it's coming. There is an exhaustion of IPv4 addresses, which is about to happen. However, the reality is you can probably survive on IPv4 for a while. However, as with the introduction of Microsoft Direct Access, where our applications need to talk over IPv6. We need to support IPv6 through IPv4 tunnels. We need IPsec within IPv6. And so I think there's a need to understand IPv6 as well.
So I'm in trouble. I'm in trouble, right?
No, you just do both.
Oh, okay. Okay, so now let's go to a whiteboard, because I want to definitely see how ADFS fits in cloud computing and authentication.
Okay, excellent. Let's do that.
Welcome to TechEd from England.
Hej Danmark, og velkommen til TechEd.
Ciao, benvenuti a TechEd.
Okay, well, let's start off with looking at the single sign-on within your corporate organization first.
Yes.
So you have multiple servers, and let's just say, just for simple sake, we'll say they're web servers. Okay, so that's meant to be a globe.
Okay.
Right? So we have a user, and that user accesses one of the web servers. And if it's within our organization, then we're going to be using Kerberos, okay?
Yeah.
Provided we've set the web servers up to use Kerberos, that is. Okay, so what will actually happen is this guy will go off, and we'll call it service 1. He'll go off to a KDC, as in the Key Distribution Center, for our Kerberos server, and he'll ask for a service ticket. So he's already authenticated, so he'll ask for a service ticket for what do you call it? Service 1. Okay, and what this will do is it will actually give him back a service ticket, which is valid for communication with service 1 or authentication against service 1, and on that service ticket, so you get an ST back. On there will be the user plus group membership. I don't know if you can read that, but
I can read that.
It says it. So we now present that over there, and we present that ticket across. So the service ticket goes across. This is very, very simple, quick, dirty Kerberos.
And that is matched against the ACL of that service.
No, well, you come across there, and then your permissions can, whether you gain access or not, is based on the user identity, which is the user security identity, or SID, and the group membership.
Yeah.
Now, if that service needs more information about the user, that service will then have to, maybe do a query against AD. So we're now querying AD for finding out the employee ID, whether they're a full-time employee, whatever other information you want to store in the AD about them. Maybe the manager, because maybe as part of the workflow, when this person requests something from a web page here, we need to email the person's manager. Now, where's the person's manager held? It could be in here, as in AD, or maybe we have, a SQL store sitting out here, and we have to query the SQL store. All right, so that's fairly easy to implement when we're working within our corporate network. We're using Kerberos. The problem is, number one, the programmer has to know how the authentication's been done. So the programmer has to say, is it going to use Kerberos? Is it going to use NTLM? Is it going to, what the authentication mechanism? And then the programmer needs to know how to query AD and how to query SQL.
Yeah.
So if we look at what and let's actually, before we wrap it out, if I want to put that into the cloud, right, it all falls apart because we're not going to use Kerberos into the cloud.
No.
All right, so let's now look at what ADFS does for us. So ADFS, as in Active Directory Federation Services, but ADFS is Microsoft's implementation of federation. So now what happens is we have our client, and the client hits our web server with a request. The first thing the web server says is you're not authenticated, right? Because we make a direct request. And it sends a redirect to the client. And now the redirect is sent off to a token service. So it's going to come to a token service for federation. And what the client's going to request is a token to this resource. So let's call this again S1. So it's a token for S1.
And this one is in the cloud too?
this could be in the cloud, it could be on premise, it could be anywhere.
Okay.
What it will do is it will say initially to the client, well, you're not authenticated. So what we'll need to do is provide credentials through to our token service. And in terms of Microsoft, if we're using ADFS, which is Microsoft's implementation, what that will do is talk to the Active Directory. So this would be implemented on premise, right? We then get back from this, and again, this is very simple terms, we get back a security token, and that's STS actually, and this is signed. So it's a signed security token, and on there we have claims. And those claims can be the username, and then anything you like. So it could be group membership out of AD, it could be their email address, it could be their manager's name, it could be the fact they're a full-time employee, anything you like. So we can cram that with different claims of different types. And that's all sitting in there, right? And this is actually set up so that we provide the correct claims for this chat. So now we present the security token across. Again, it's signed, so the security token goes across, and on there we have all the claims this app needs. So previously the app was going to Active Directory to find out the manager's name, etc. Now we're actually we've already got that information on here. Yeah. So we've got the information on the token itself. So no longer are we querying the AD, we can also have this guy query a back-end SQL store if we want, and we can pull claim information from the SQL store, we can have it query an LDAP server, we can have it query anything you like. We can extend this to query any type to get more information about the claims we want for here. So now we're sending this across. Now what we have is this is a relying party. Right? It's relying on a token that is generated by here. So what we have between these two guys is a federated trust. Right? So this is our security token service, and this guy is trusting him as a claims provider, because he's going to, and I'm showing it coming through the client, but he's going to generate the claims, he's going to sign them, and because they've been signed by him, it will be presented and I will accept them. So now, using this, what we've got here going up and down is we're using industry standard protocols. This is an industry standard token. So this could be a Microsoft server, it could be running on Linux, it could be running on anything. This is Microsoft's offering of the security token service and also the identity provider, which hooks into AD, but it could be a third party. So we could be Windows here, this could be running on Linux, we'd be quite happy to accept that token, or we could be run the other way, or we could be a complete Microsoft house. Now, this guy, doesn't matter where he is. He could be on-premise, he could be in the cloud,
your DMZ
could be in anywhere we like. So that is one aspect of ADFS.
Yeah.
But it gets better.
Tell me.
So let's change. You okay with that part? Okay. So let's change it slightly. And this is a big problem where we've got two organisations, right? And you have a user from this organisation that needs to gain access to a resource over here. Okay. So what do we do? Well, traditionally what we've done is we don't want to set up a Windows trust between them, because you don't want to do that. So how do we get access there? And what normally happens is either we have an identity store, ID for partners. Okay, so now partner, what should we call him? Jim. Right, so now Jim's in this identity store, comes in here, he logs on. What does he have to provide? The identity and the authentication to get here. So Jim, if he's working in his own organization, will have a different identity to when he's working over here. So no single sign-on experience. All right. So The other problem is if Jim is in my AD, so he's in here, and I sack Jim, I can very quickly deprovision him in here.
Yeah.
But do I remember to tell my partner to deprovision in here? Possibly not.
No.
So
Especially
Jim,
when we have more partners there.
and you have lots of partners, and so it goes on. So that is an actual total nightmare. So what we can do is we can arrange for federation to be done on both sides. Now, if you remember, we have a security token service, and we have a trust relationship between these two guys. So this is the relying party, and he trusts his security token service. We can then have a security token service over here, plus identity provider, right? And here we're actually using this as identity. So let's put Jim logging in on. He can't log in from a server. He's got to do it from his laptop. He's sitting on the internet on his laptop. Okay, so
big difference between those two.
So Jim's here now. Let's move him. And Jim belongs to this organization. So now Jim hits this resource. And this resource says, you're not authenticated, and redirects. You get a redirect which takes you up to the security token service for this organization. So now we're hitting the security token service here. And this guy says, well, actually, I don't know who you are, but I do trust some other partners, and we can have multiple partners set up here. And what we do is a thing called home realm discovery. So this guy basically says back to Jim, which is your home realm? And Jim says, well, my home realm was over here. Yep. So we then get a redirect that comes over to here. At this point, Jim authenticates. What does he do? He uses his Active Directory credentials.
Yep.
And then it's this is all done through the browser, and we get a series of redirections that happen again. Again, this is in simple terms, and yeah, I thought I wasn't going to be able to top of that one. What we'll do is then get a redirect, so let's draw it. So now we get a security token which has come from this guy, signed by that guy. Right? We send that back over there. Right? So again, it's signed. We've got a trust, which is a federated trust established between these two. This arrives into our security token service. We translate that, and let's put this on here, send back a security token, which is now signed. So there's the ST, which is signed, and Jim presents that back to this relying party, and on there are the claims that were originated from here, plus any translation that we wanted to do here, right? Because maybe let's take it very simple. We have a group claim.
Yeah.
He's a member of purchasers here, and so in here it says purchasers. But this application doesn't believe in purchasers, he believes in buyers. So what can happen inside here is this purchasers get translated to buyers. Okay. And then we present this, the fact we've got Jim and he's a buyer. And this allows us to actually federate with lots and lots of partners. So the first scenario was federating with our applications, allowing our applications to exist absolutely anywhere. And this one allows us to federate with partners. So again, this app could be on-premise for this partner, it could be out in the cloud somewhere else at another provider. And we can have lots of relationship with lots of different partners. And that's sort of in however many minutes it's been. It's federation.
Well, thank you very much, because it's very clear to me now. And we're going to use that in the future.
I think you will. One of the key things to look at this year is federation.
Yeah.
Federated identity. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much.
Okay, no problem.
Right. Who are you?
Milad Zanni.
Where are you from?
Holland, working as a contractor, system center corner.
Okay, and what do you think of TechEd this year?
Really nice. Yeah, really nice. Nice sessions.
So what was your favorite session?
I think the sessions of Wally Mead.
Oh, he's good.
Yeah, definitely is. So I'm last week in Holland, Express Live meeting. It's really good, yeah.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Thank you.